Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back after the lunch break to the 13th TNG Big Tech Day, and actually the very first virtual Big Tech. I hope you enjoyed the previous talks this morning, and although we all could unfortunately not meet in person, had some entertaining and hopefully inspiring conversations. Perhaps you even joined one or more discussions in the various Slack channels, which conveniently leads me to our next speaker. It's my great pleasure to introduce Ciarán Doyle. Ciarán, you are a senior solution engineer at Slack for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And day to day, you help large enterprise companies across Europe evaluate Slack from a value, technical, and security standpoint. Ciarán has over 10 years experience in the IT community, working with Oracle as well as on technologies from IBM and Anaplan. Today, he will talk about a day in the life as a remote worker using Slack. That's probably a very good title that many of us can relate to right now. To the audience, if you have questions for Ciarán, there is a Q&A section in your Zoom menu, and Ciarán will happily answer your questions at the end of this talk. Furthermore, there exists a Slack channel with the name Track 5, so we are on Track 5, where you can also ask questions and discuss. One more thing, please be aware that the talk will be recorded. So if you ask a question with your microphone or with your camera turned on, obviously, you will also get recorded. But now, without further ado, Ciarán, we are really excited and we are looking forward to listening to your talk. The floor is yours.
Brilliant, thanks, Ben. And let me first start by sharing my screen here. So Ben, if you could just give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen okay. Perfect, and let me jump into presenter mode. So, hello everybody. As Ben said in his introduction, Ciarán Doyle is my name, and I am a large enterprise solution engineer at Slack. And as of the last 2 months or 3 months or so, I'm also a fully remote worker. So my life and my world has changed quite dramatically in that time. I'm coming to you today from Dublin in Ireland. I would love to have been with you all in Germany today to enjoy the conference and perhaps also enjoy a drink or two tonight. What I'm looking to cover today is 3 key points. So first of all, I want to cover off Slack for remote working. So I know a lot of you will have been using Slack today as part of the conference, and I'm noticing some really interesting discussion going on within the channels. I want to look at why Slack is so well suited to remote working. I also want to take a bit of a 101 deep dive for people who maybe haven't used Slack before today, as to exactly what you're using, what you're seeing, and how you can use Slack within your team. That should take about 10 minutes to run through, and then we're going to spend the rest of the session actually in Slack, where I'll be showing you how I get my work done. We'll leave about 10 minutes at the end for some questions and answers. So if you do have questions, pop them in the Q&A and I'll take them at the end. So what is Slack, or what does Slack do? At its core, really what our product is or does is it helps and allows people to work together and collaborate as easily online as we would do in person. I know a lot of us are missing our offices, our desks right now. I'm amazed. I didn't think I'd miss small talk at the coffee machine as much as I do, but really longing for it now. And I also miss those interactions that I have with my colleagues where I don't know something and I'm able to turn to someone to my left or right or walk across the building and ask someone a question. That's been taken away from a lot of us in the past couple of months. What Slack allows me to do is to have those personable conversations with people in an environment where I can actually get my work done. And we do that in channels. So you're all in like 15, 20 channels today. where we're able to discuss various things going on throughout the Big Tech Day conference. And if you compare those channels to conversations that we might have either at the office or in the conference, we'd be having one-to-one conversations where the knowledge that we're sharing and the information that we're sharing is siloed between a small number of individuals. The great thing about a product like Slack is it brings that information and that data from the individual and puts it at the wider team. So we're sharing information around the information that we'd be sharing usually one-to-one is being shared across our network. So at its core, what we are is a channel-based messaging platform where the right people are always in the loop and key information is always at their fingertips. You'll see a lot more of this when I go into the product in a few minutes' time. And as I say, channels are all about bringing people and projects together. So it's great to bring the people that you work with together, but it's also critically important to bring the tools and the data that we work with to get our jobs done together as well. So let's think about the end of a quarter for a sales organization, closing the books, and that requires a huge amount of people working together. We would have people from legal, from finance, accounting, sales, tax, and even our CFO who needs to sign off the books. How this would be done usually in an office is we would probably have a couple of meeting rooms booked out long past midnight, food delivered into the office, and people sitting around scrambling everywhere. That's just not possible right now. So being able to create a channel which replicates that, something like Close the Books, where we can bring in all the key stakeholders and get the job of finishing out the quarter done in a professional, but also in the most transparent and quickest manner. You know, the world is continuing to go on and commerce is still being done. What happens if we want to kick off a new ad campaign? Again, in the old way of working, we might have a marketing offsite where we would get together, we would all huddle around a whiteboard and we'd start coming up with ideas. There'd be post-it notes flying everywhere. Again, not possible right now, but creating a space for us to brainstorm ideas across all the different key components of creating, launching, and analyzing a campaign can be done within a number of channels in Slack. The same for what I think is most important right now for all of us and really top of mind, checking in on the well-being and health of our teammates. Slack allows a number of people across a team, and my team are no different, we're doing this every day, to just update our status, our health, what's going on in our working lives and in our home lives, which are overlapping right now. And it allows our management to get a better idea of how people are really doing in a very social manner, not just the way we would maybe interact with an email or even over a voice call where we mightn't be comfortable sharing. So it's not just my organization that's doing this. There are hundreds of thousands of companies globally who have adopted a new way of working in the past 2 months and have used or relied on Slack to ensure that they can do this in the best way possible. That's maybe a little intro to Slack for remote working. We're going to see a lot more of that when I jump into the product. But you know, for those of you who are using Slack for the first time today, or maybe even haven't even signed up to the Slack yet and are interested in what this product might be, I just want to give you a quick 101 of what you see for the first time when you log into Slack and the different components that make up the tool. So just to really clarify, Slack helps you connect with your coworkers even when you're not in the same room, which for all of us is the reality right now. So teamwork happens in what we call channels, and there are two types of channels. There are public channels and there are private channels. Public channels, anybody in the organization can find a public channel, can search within it, can join the channel and can start sharing and adding content. There are also private channels where we might have a slightly more sensitive topic like recruitment that we don't want to discuss for the entire audience within our organization. And these channels are displayed to me on my side pane where I can quickly understand my key tasks for the day because they're all broken down by channel, and I can see and contextualize what information is important to me. But also I might want to have, like we're having now, a voice video conference. So I might need to, after I've shared information, we've gone back and forth in a dialogue, sometimes you really need a phone call. And I can start calls directly from Slack in the click of a button and alert everybody within the channel to that call. So we can all huddle around a meeting pretty quickly. This is perfect for quick or ad hoc meetings when I need to talk to a teammate face to face. But a lot of you are probably using things like Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, Cisco WebEx. Slack integrates with your best of breed primary voice video service provider. So you can click the call button, and instead of it starting a Slack call, you can start a Zoom call or a Microsoft Teams call or a Cisco WebEx call. This is perfect for being able to not only have meetings internally with your close colleagues, but externally as well. And it takes over all the securities and permissions that you spend a lot of time setting up in your primary voice video provider. Another thing we want to think about, though, is when it comes to productivity, is not just face-to-face meetings and interactions with people, it's also how we work on files. So, 90% of knowledge workers are working on files constantly throughout the day. And Slack helps you bring your Office suite, your documents, your emails, your calendar, all into one place where you can not just have that information siloed within your own inbox or on your own desktop, but shared throughout the entire organization. So things like integrating your calendar for timely reminders. So I don't have to continuously context switch to know if I have a meeting coming up. I get pinged in Slack when a meeting is about to start. And I've also got the ability to click to join that meeting immediately, but also the ability to share docs from whatever I'm using. So if I'm using SharePoint or OneDrive or Google Docs, Box, Dropbox, whatever it might be, I can share files directly into a channel. Slack will index those files so people can search for the relevant information. And also Slack will inherit the permissions from the source. So if we're using Dropbox, Box, SharePoint, and we have really strict permissions on who can view and access files, that's going to be inherited by Slack. The same with email. So email is always going to exist, whether we like it or not. People are going to continue to email each other. And there will always be people who you are in continuous conversation with who aren't in your corporate instance of Slack. So how do we communicate with them, or how do we get information from them to the wider organization? Well, you can always forward an email to all, but that can be quite messy. As we all know, we've all been on reply all threads where someone doesn't click reply all and the information just evaporates. What we can do is we can share emails directly from our inbox in one click into Slack. There we can then find out the information from our colleagues who might be able to help us before getting an answer back to that third-party vendor or client. So that's just an intro into Slack from a 101 point of view. What I'm now going to do is talk about how I get my work done in Slack from a day-to-day point of view. So I had a bit of a shocking moment when I first started at Slack. As Ben said in his intro to me, I came over from Oracle, and Oracle now is a big Slack house, but beforehand, we were a huge email house, and everything went through my Outlook inbox. When I joined Slack, I had this weird sensation. In the first couple of weeks, I received 0 emails. Outside of systems alerting me for things to set up, I received no email from a single person. So this really strange feeling, was I missing out on anything, or was something not being done? What was happening was everything had moved into this new way of working, into channels. So let me first, for anyone who doesn't know what a solution engineer does, describe my role. So my role, as Ben said at the start, is to help customers throughout Europe evaluate Slack from a technical, security, and value standpoint. What that looks like is spending a lot of time going between our sales organization and our product organization. Our sales organization are on the front line working with customers every single day, finding out what their needs, wants, desires are for Slack and what their concerns are about our platform. Our product team are doing an amazing job at building a product that we want our customers to fall in love with and to be able to get their work done in a productive manner with. My job is to be a conduit between the two. So if a customer has concerns, has asks of the product that maybe go beyond the scope of a typical sales representative, my job is to help that customer find answers. What that actually looks like is, first of all, I'm a technical advisor. So creating plans with customers for how to roll out Slack, for how they can work on our API toolkit to make the platform a little bit more extensible for them. I also would, be a guide for the customer. So how do you, Slack is a great product and I can help you from the technical standpoint, but also people need to interact with software. How do we manage the rollout of Slack from that point of view? As I say, a big part of my job is being an internal liaison. So finding out the right information to share with customers and pulling that information from various parts of the business. When a customer might notice something that isn't in Slack, it's my job to take that information, to contextualize it and to bring it back to the product team so that they can help to innovate and keep delivering the product that customers love. And then finally, I need to help manage a number of accounts. So the sales reps at Slack work with accounts all across Germany and the wider European region. My job is to help them with that portfolio of accounts and to develop relationships within the business. So these would be the 5 key tenets of my job. So that gives you, as I jump into Slack, a little bit of context as to what I might be doing every day. Finally, before I jump in, if you only take 3 things from the next 30 or 40 minutes, the takeaways I want you to have, first of all, how I am connected to my team and my tasks. So how I am able to, from the first moment I log into Slack in the morning to the time I leave, I'm able to stay connected with both the people I work with every day, but also the tasks that I have to monitor for my day-to-day job. Secondly, I want to talk about the presence of critical information. So when I need to be alerted of something, how alerts usually work from systems of record is through ticketing and email. It's not ideal. So I want you to take a look at how I manage that critical information. And then finally, the importance of automation. A lot of what we do every day can be automated. And a lot of what we do every day prevents us from doing the really important bits of our job that we love. So I want to look at how Slack is going to help me to automate those tasks. So what I'm going to do now is switch over to Slack. And Angus, I can see you're still there. If you can just give me a thumbs up if you can see Slack. Brilliant. So this is not my Slack, but it is an instance of Slack set up to mirror what Slack looks like at Slack. So here I am just in a DM with a colleague, with George, a direct message, which is a private communication between me and another colleague. I'm logging in here for the first time in the morning. So what I want to do and what I do every morning is I check my calendar. I want to see what tasks and what meetings I have today so that I can prepare adequately. Now, in the remote world that we live in, I've been doing this every morning on my phone while I'm having a cup of coffee or going for a little walk. So I can check Slack, all the messages that I got from the night before, as well as check my calendar to set me up for the day. So I jump down here to the application, the Google Calendar app, and I can see my my outline for the day. So I can see here that I have a speaking slot at the TNG Virtual Big Tech Day, but also I've got some meetings coming up this afternoon. So I've got the meeting with the CIO of a company called Burlington, and I can actually click to join that straight away. And I've got some planning for next week. So these are the things that I need to prepare for in my free time this morning. What I can also do is I can check my calendar going forward or going back to see any other dates that I might have. This, within a minute, allows me to set up perfectly for the day without, again, having to context switch. The other important thing that I want to do first thing is I need to let my colleagues know that I'm going to spend some time presenting to my friends in Germany over the next hour, and I don't want to be disturbed in that time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a status, and I'm also going to pause my notifications so that I'm not disturbed within that time. So you can see here, I can update a status. I've set up some, work from home style statuses within here that allow me to quickly inform anybody who's looking to contact me in Slack that I'm not available right now. So what I could do is say that I'm on a video conference. I could set a time that will run out, and anybody who goes to send me a message in the next hour will be alerted to that. What I also want to do is pause notifications, because I really want to focus on some tasks right now, and I don't need to be alerted by other people sending me direct messages or perhaps calls. So now that I'm able to focus, I've set up a status that everybody knows, and I've checked my day, I'm ready to start work. So what I've been doing recently, and I don't know about everybody else, is I've been plugging into the organization a little bit more and trying to, find out what my colleagues are up to and what the wider business is doing in these uncertain times. So within Slack, I've set up some folders that allow me to decipher and contextualize all the information or projects and channels I'm working on. And where I've been starting my day a lot recently is announcements. So what's going on within the wider business. So we have a couple of announcements channels here at Slack. One of them, Announcements Global. So this is where our leadership team can send messages to everybody within our workspace, highlighting the key information that's going on within the organization. So you can see here, David Sutherland, who's our Chief Human Resources Officer, has just sent out some more information about work from home and how overwhelming that it can be for everybody. And he's just letting us all know that, some information around maybe picking things up from the office or some online resources that we can avail of to help us with our mental health and well-being during this time. So I'm able to get a little bit of an update from David, but from David's point of view as well, he could quite easily send out this message via email to a mailing list that would encompass the entire organization. What David wouldn't get, though, is sentiment. People aren't likely to reply to that email. They're not likely to engage with that email. And if they do, they might reply all and create a bit of noise and disturbance for the rest of their colleagues. What people tend to do in Slack is react. So you can see here, people are reacting with emoji, thanking David, letting people know that they're engaged, that they've appreciated this message. That allows the senior leadership at Slack and at organizations to know how a message has landed. And the analytics behind this message as well, we can see views and shares, so we can understand when the best time during a week to post such a message might be. So it really helps the leadership reach the widest amount of people within the organization and know what's important to the organization as well. Other channels that I'm checking quite frequently would be something like a help channel. So we have these set up in Slack for different things like help finance, where if I have a payroll question, I might go, or help workplace, where when we're in the office and something breaks, I can alert our workplace team to what's going on. We've recently set up help channels for regions, so that if people are struggling in any way, they can anonymously provide feedback. So we can see here, Anka, who's in David's HR team, has kind of sent out a message saying that obviously the health and well-being of everybody right now is very much top of mind for the company during the ongoing process. So she's created an anonymous form in this channel, so that if anyone is feeling unwell or feeling like they might have contracted COVID-19, they can alert the organization in a private way, so the organization knows to support that. So we've built a little bit of a shortcut where I can report a case, and this will be privately sent to my HR team. So I can choose this option, yes or no, have I been hospitalized, all that information, again, working on mobile, so that HR know if I need any particular support. The next thing I want to do after I've understood maybe what's going on within my organization is probably what's going on in the wider world. Before I became a remote worker, I would check the newspaper when I'm having my coffee in the office every morning to see what kind of industry news there might be. So I work quite a lot right now with a lot of the financial companies in both the UK and Germany. So I'm always interested in what's happening within that industry and what are the key talking points. So what I can do is I can integrate RSS feeds or Twitter into a private channel in Slack where I can get industry news. So I'm pulling in here the Financial Times from London, so I can stay up to date on the key trends and developments within the sectors or external sources that are of interest to me. So I might jump into an article there, and when I'm fully caught up, I decide, right, I've caught up on the organization, I've caught up on the wider world, it's time to start engaging with my team. So I'll close my announcements folder and I'll jump into my team folder. And our SE team, we've created a sprint channel where every morning we get updates and provide updates to the organization or to our team about how we're doing and how we're progressing. So you can see here, we have a bot reminding us to post your reflections, the successes, the challenges, the things that you're looking forward to. Well, we've taken that a little bit of a step further than just using a bot. We thought, why not use some of the cool tools that we have in Slack, like that workflow that you just saw for COVID response, to be able to submit my team stand-up form. So what did I achieve yesterday? I prepped for Big Tech Day. What's on the agenda today? Well, Big Tech Day and something fun from my work from home life, so I can get a bit of a social interaction with my colleague. Sun's out, barbecue time. And I can submit that. And that gets populated into the channel. And as my colleagues start logging on in the morning, they're going to do the same. So first of all, I get to see not only what my colleagues are working on and what's important to them, I also get a social interaction with them and find out what they're doing to build a little bit of morale that we're probably missing from not being in the office. And then finally, my management understand who has a lot going on right now, who's maybe a little bit idle, and how we can get them some help. Once I've done that, I remember from my calendar, I've got a meeting with the CIO of Burlington later this afternoon. So that's really where I want to prep. So I'm going to go over to the Accounts Burlington channel where the sales team are interacting with that customer. So within my sales folder, within my key deals folder, I have an Accounts Burlington channel. And that is where my colleagues are all discussing exactly what's going on with this account. All the key information, some of the documents that we're working on are all being shared here. So everybody is kept up to date. What's really useful about this as well is it saves me a lot of time. If this deal is very important for the senior sales leadership within the organization, they're going to want to know a lot of updates about what's going on. What typically would have happened is that we would have to have status meetings, maybe daily, maybe weekly, depending on the importance of the meeting or the importance of the customer. And we would also have to have those meetings maybe 2-3 times for different stakeholders. What's able to happen now is senior leadership are able to come into a channel like this and understand what is going on and understand where the deal is at in real time. If I think about this, a story that our CEO tells is when our biggest customer, Oracle, was about to close at Slack, he never once had to call a meeting with the accounts team. He was able to stay up to date by jumping into this channel. So I could talk to Noah, Miguel, and Jody, who I'm working with on this. But what I really want to know is what's currently going on with this account before I have the meeting with the CIO. I don't want to get caught blindsided. So what I might want to do is I might want to query Salesforce. So if I search our CRM, Salesforce, for the account name Burlington, Salesforce are going to tell me that all the information that we have on this customer. And we can see that we have a number of open opportunities, leads, contacts at Burlington, but also cases, which concerns me a little bit. There's some open service tickets from our service desk that haven't been responded to yet. I know that this might be on the CIO's desk, and I definitely want to be prepared for this. So I can actually view that case directly from Slack so that I'm prepared for my meeting later and can view the particular record and the priority of it. If I want to jump into the case, I can do so directly from here. And I can manage alerts around this. So any updates to this case is going to ping me directly in Slack. I don't continuously have to go to Salesforce to find out about it. I can also post this to channel and maybe pull in someone from the customer service team to get more information. I'd also want to take a look at the open opportunities so that if the CIO asks about what's about to close, I'm able to respond to them. And again, I can view a record here and even set up an alert so that anytime this opportunity changes, I'm going to get a ping directly within Slack. And I have a number of different filters that I can put in place here. But also preparing for a meeting doesn't just involve me working with people in my own organization. I also have an external channel. So you can see here this icon. This icon lets me know this is an externally shared channel. And I'm able to talk with Alex over at Burlington about the meeting later this afternoon. He's shared across the joint plan, and we're able to work together externally without having left Slack. Instance of Slack, I'm in mine, and we've been able to share this channel across. This is a really useful way of getting work done, and we're seeing organizations transform how they connect with their customers and partners. Some of you are probably aware of the marketing automation tool HubSpot. HubSpot have moved their entire customer service arm onto Slack with shared channels for working with their key accounts. So I'm feeling like I'm pretty ready for this meeting, but I maybe want to spend some time maybe working on some other opportunities. One of the things that we've noticed here at Slack is in the last few weeks and months, we've lost the ability to go and ask a colleague a question and have those really productive conversations that might happen when 2 or 3 people within an office start brainstorming together. So for that, we've created channels where we can ask each other questions. So you can see here, I've got a help sales engineering channel. This is where sales members can ask their engineering colleagues particular questions around some things that might be a little bit beyond their knowledge or scope. What we do here is we prioritize questions based on, again, emoji. So I can use a white circle for something that's not urgent, a blue circle for something that is urgent, and a red circle for something that is incredibly urgent and needs to be responded to straight away. We can see here that Noah's asked a question around the API Connect toolkit that we have, and Sachin has come in here and responded to that. This is great for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's public, so everybody can search it and everybody understands it. So if I have a question and I want to know about the API toolkit, I can just search within Slack and I'll find it straight away. So it means that Sachin doesn't have to answer this question repetitively. He answers it for Noah and it's there for everybody else. The other great thing about this channel is it starts to generate, once it's generated a knowledge base, it also generates a bit of connection between 2 teams that, if they're not sitting in the same office, are unlikely to talk. So it creates a place where we can respond to these questions quickly for our customers, and the product team are getting consistent feedback. So I would jump in here pretty regularly to help answer and bridge some questions. What I might want to do though is, as I said about my job, I spend a lot of time working with the project team. And I might want to understand that, what exactly are the cool developments that are coming up with our product over the next couple of weeks. So our engineers are at the cutting edge, and I want to understand what they're going to release to our customers. So I have this product team folder where I can look at some of the market research that we're doing, but I've also got some information on the Project Echo that's going on, which is a cool new piece of functionality that we're talking about releasing. So the overall Project Echo team has a group channel where everything is planned out, all the discussion happens. And as someone who's an interested party, I can log in here and figure out exactly what's going on with this team. I can see the project timelines, and I don't have to bother anybody within this team. I can receive the information straight away. But I might want to maybe be a little bit more interested in what's going on here. And I might have a look at the Project Echo Trello channel, where they've integrated Trello, which they're using to manage their tasks, into Slack, so that every time a new status on this project is updated on a Trello board, it comes directly into this Slack channel. So the manager page can see exactly the status of everything going on and how it's performing, but also interested third parties like me can kind of get into the weeds on this. And then we also have the Go Live channel, where as something is about to go live, we can get a channel and we can watch the deploy in real time. We can highlight or triage any issues that we might have and surface that to the rest of the business. Here, everything looks good, but let's say that we did have an issue and I wanted to raise it. I've spotted something and I want to raise that. I also want to bring that into the system of record. What I can do is, based on a message that I see, I can create a brand new JIRA issue and write directly to my system of record, or I can add to an existing JIRA issue that I might see. So if I want to create an issue, I get a dialog box, which is going to populate the key fields in JIRA. So I can let everyone know that everything is on fire. I associate it to the particular project. I've provided a description, and I assign an urgency. So let's say without a high urgency. That's going to write to JIRA, but it's also going to post in this channel that I've created an issue. And if people want to update this task, they can do so directly from Slack. They don't have to continuously context switch. So if we're having a conversation around an issue, we can do that in channel, and then we can write back to our system of record, in this case, JIRA. So that's all gone well. I've updated the team. I've understood what's going on with that project. I might now want to take a look at recruitment. So, we're helping our customers in their time of need. That requires us to maybe have a couple more people on board. So I've set up a number of recruitment channels. And as you can see, these are slightly different. These are all private channels, because what we're discussing in here is, of course, sensitive. And we want to ensure that we're doing best, not only by our staff, but also by our candidates. So I can create different channels that allow me to manage the process of hiring someone. So I might want to create, first of all, if we're having a new marketing director for Austria, we might want to create a channel where we can start posting in different resumes that we receive from our recruitment team. And everybody can come in here and start discussing in thread what we think of this candidate and should we move them on to the interview stage. But also we've created a bot, which is actually taking and parsing the information from this and providing it to us in a really clear and concise way. So I can see all the key information about a candidate in one place, and that's maybe pulling from 2 or 3 information sources. So I can make up pretty quickly whether we should make up my mind whether we should move someone for a particular role onto a screening or interview process. And when we do that, we're going to create an interview channel where the hiring team can come in. We can share information around particular candidates. And I can see here the schedule of interviews that I have today. Once an interview is finished, I can provide information about that candidate to our hiring software, and Slack is actually going to prompt me through Candidate Bot to provide feedback. So it's impossible for me to forget. I can see my colleagues have done it; they've reacted with the green check mark, and I'll do the same. And then to see the performance of our team, what I can do is create a stats bot that is looking at a lot of different information and seeing the overall performance of us as we set about hiring this new individual. Everything's gone well, and we're going to make an offer to a particular candidate for the hiring director. So we can see here that we've had a verbal acceptance, and we've put together a package for this candidate, and we can integrate tools like DocuSign. So if somebody accepts the contract, we all get a notification, so we can give each other some kudos and a pat on the back. But let's say, one of the key things I want you to take away is automation. What happens if I want to talk about taking this candidate from the offer stage to actually onboarding them in a fully remote environment, and keeping all my systems of record, like my HR in maybe Workday, and different systems for like ServiceNow for ticketing and setting someone up with an email account and laptop. That usually for a hiring manager is a lot of hassle and a lot of pain and a lot of stress, which quite frankly we don't need right now. What happens if I had a way of being able to do that in what we call a workflow? So firstly, when I want to finalize an offer for someone, I'm going to do that in a system of record for core HR like Workday. And when I'm happy with an offer for this role, I can add some comments which will sit on the record, and we can decide to make an offer. What that'll do is it'll write off to the system of record like Workday, and it'll say, let's generate an offer, and it'll trigger an email from DocuSign to send the offer for the customer or for the client's acceptance. When it's been accepted, I'm going to receive a notification back. Hopefully it's good news. We can see here it is, that this has been signed and has gone into our document library, which sits in Dropbox. Now this is new employee wants to join. So what we can do is kick off an onboarding process where I can start providing them with the kind of key information they need, in this case, to do their job. So first of all, I need to start provisioning equipment for the user. And then we think, what do we need in a remote world to do our job? Well, certainly we need to set them up with a new email account. We're pretty high tech here, so we might set them up with an iPhone 6. And also we might provide them with a standard laptop, so they're able to get to work and start doing their job. Once that's all done, using this workflow, what we'll do is that will kick off a back-end process, which will begin to provide all of this key information into the system of record, as well as giving the onboarding experience, a really positive onboarding experience for this new hire. So what I'm going to do now is quickly jump back into slides to ensure that we leave some time at the end for questions. So the three key takeaways that I said I wanted you to have: first of all, how I'm connected to my team and my tasks. You can see from the first time I wake up and start using Slack every day, I'm connected to my tasks through Gmail, things like Trello. I know exactly what's going on with my tasks. I'm also connected into the wider organization, like my team, by having things like announcements channels where I understand exactly the decision making of the organization, as well as my weekly and my daily stand-ups with the teams that I work with. The presence of critical information, as I say, it's very important for me to be able to do my job well, not just to have people to talk to, but to have systems of record where I can pull information. Salesforce is key for me every day, because I can understand exactly what's going on with the customer before I engage with them. I don't have to have an hour-long meeting with an account executive or someone in our customer support to understand exactly what's going on with the customer. I can leave them to be as productive as they are, and I can find the information very, very quickly. And then finally, the importance of automation. You saw there in that hiring example, onboarding someone can be incredibly difficult, incredibly painful. There are tons of examples like incident management, or closing a deal or closing a quarter, where lots of automation of certain tasks can streamline our processes and allow us as a team to work together and be more productive and focus on those key tasks. So I hope you found a lot of value from that session and from those key takeaways. What I'm going to do now is open up for some Q&A as we've got about 10 minutes left. So first question that I can see here, does Slack have a Google Analytics integration? If so, is it possible to opt out? So Slack has integrations into a number of data visualization tools that allow you to understand the performance of your business. What that will tend to do is look at a particular metric or metrics that you're tracking towards and pipe that into a channel for an appropriate audience. Google Analytics, as well as the likes of Power BI, Tableau, Looker, are all provided for. What I would stress is that these kind of things are stuff that we're monitoring anyway, and we would look at how something like Slack can take action from the insights that you receive within that channel. Gerhard asks, is there a particularly good way for distributed decision making with Slack, poll, consent, etc.? So that's a really good question. There are things that you can do from a technology point of view, like you say, poll or consent. But what we also do is things like you saw earlier, the reactions. So when we are deciding at Slack whether to move ahead with a candidate from a hiring point of view, we might decide to do, we would share the key information about moving to interview stage, and we would react with a thumbs up. So everybody involved in the situation, and if we have consensus with those thumbs up, then we move on. So it's quite a low barrier to entry for distributed decision making. If you want to take that further, yeah, something like consent or poll is a great way to do it. How much of your day is spent in video calls from Matthias? It seems like many of the features you showed today could be used to change that synchronous time into asynchronous interactions. It's a really good question. I would say that too much of my time is spent on video calls in the recent weeks, and I'd say everybody's feeling that. I think I go from video calls at work to video calls socially. But what I have noticed, and a key driver from our CEO recently, has been, if a meeting doesn't need to happen, it shouldn't happen. A lot of what we do is moving things that are pent up, that might happen in weekly reviews, into, as you say, asynchronous communication. And therefore, you're able to free up a lot of time in your calendar and move away from teleconferencing, which I think is very stressful for a lot of people right now. Where are you when it comes to data residency? For a lot of customers in Europe, especially Germany, this is critical. That's from Daniel. Thanks for the question. That's a brilliant question, and it's been something that we fought for here in Europe quite hard over the last couple of years. Certainly, I've been at Slack for 2 years, and it's something that I've been hearing from our customers, particularly in Germany, but also in the wider European region. So in December of last year, we actually launched Slack in Frankfurt, which was our first data region. In the past few months, we've also launched Slack in France. We've launched Slack in Australia, in Japan. And unfortunately for our dear friends in the UK, the Slack data region in Europe was no longer sufficient. So we've launched a Slack data region in the UK as well. So that's been a big focus area for us. And we've seen a huge uptake in the number of European customers taking Slack within region. So it's been fantastic. Matthias has asked.
Just a second. You're an expert. You are so fast. There was another question I wanted to point out, also from Gerhard. He
Yes.
asked if it's possible to tie members of existing groups, for example, from LDAP or Active Directory, to channels in Slack, so that you don't have to maintain group memberships multiple times.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about this? Is it maybe on the roadmap?
No, so this is something that is available in Slack now. So on some of the tiers in Slack, we open up what's called our SCIM API. And that allows you to manage the provisioning and deprovisioning of users directly from an LDAP solution. So if you have somebody new to Slack, are new to your organization, and they're part of a user group within the LDAP, what you can do is provision them not just into Slack, but into certain channels. So that when I'm on my first day, I don't come into an empty inbox. I get added to the channels that are relevant to my role. It's also very useful for the moving role process. If somebody moves role internally, they can be updated. And also what's critical when you open up SCIM is deprovisioning. So if somebody leaves the organization, ensuring that all their sessions across all devices are killed immediately. From a security point of view, particularly in this current environment where maybe somebody isn't handing in their laptop on the last day and getting walked out by security, that's really, really critical for our customers. I can see another question from Matthias here. How much has the current situation affected traffic volumes on Slack? Integrated video voice can take a lot of bandwidth when everyone is using them. Great question. So the last couple of months have seen a real surge in users and the amount of connected users that we've had on Slack. A big focus for us has been on reliability and performance. So our engineers have worked tirelessly over the last 3 months to ensure that when people are logging into Slack, and Slack is mission critical for these organizations, they have complete faith in our tool. And what we've noticed, or what we've been able to report as of yesterday, is that between February and the end of April, we had 100% uptime, which is something that we're incredibly proud of. We've also been, as that question pointed out, a system of voice video calls where people are able to huddle and have meetings. And what we're noticing is that a lot of people are suffering from bandwidth issues. Maybe their entire street is now working remotely and they don't have the connection speeds that they're used to or expecting. Slack launched a new framework about 6 months ago called Sonic. And Sonic allows Slack to run far more efficiently than ever before, which has really reduced things like load times and increased the quality of things like video calls. So that's really been an unintended benefit for us. We didn't expect everybody to be working home, tethering off mobile devices, but it has allowed people who are in those situations to work from home in a really effective way. I see another question has popped up, this time from Michael. Is there a way to collect incoming information which I have to deal with, but not now, and then view it later in a central place? Absolutely, yes. So this is something I use all the time. I support a number of our sales executives throughout Europe, and anyone who works with sales executives know that they can be a little bit impatient sometimes, and I can receive lots and lots of information coming in from them and the systems that they're working in, like Salesforce, all the time. Slack has a mark on read feature, which allows you to just right-click something, mark on read, and come back to it when you want. But what also you can do is you can create a reminder for each post. So what I can do is remind myself about that information at a particular time. Personally, I've built a little workflow in Slack myself, where if I react to something with certain emoji, it will send it into a private channel that I've created that I call Ciarán's Tasks, and everything goes in there for me. So I know that at the end of the day, I have to go into that channel and make sure that everything is done. So there are a number of different levels and ways which you can do that, Michael, and it just really depends on how advanced you want to get, but absolutely there to support.
We have another question.
Yep, go for it.
We have another question coming from Slack. I just would unmute our colleague Chandan, so he can ask a question. Chandan?
Hi.
Hi, Chandan.
This was more regarding when you said you replace emails with Slack. I don't think that's really possible because emails are completely different type of communication than Slack. Like, how did you do that? So if you want to send, let's say, 3 colleagues an email about a certain subject, how would you do that?
Sorry, so just so I understand the question, is if I wanted to send
an email to 3 colleagues about a certain subject, how would you do that?
I would send a Slack message.
Yeah, so just a Slack message between 3 people, like a personal direct message?
Well, it depends on the nature of the message. So if I want to alert someone to, you know, guys, we have plans for lunch, you know, make sure everybody's available, I would send a multi-party direct message, an MPDM. If I wanted to alert somebody to, or 3 people, to something that's going on relevant to a project, I would post that in a channel that is related to that project, and would either @message them so that they receive a direct notification and it doesn't bother everybody else who sits in that channel, or I could create an alias for a particular group who's working on a project. So we might have an on-call team, and I might want to alert them by using that @message. So depending on what the message is relevant to or related to, I would either use an MPDM or I would use a channel.
So what if you want to include another person after having a certain amount of conversation? What would you do that then?
So
because in the email, you just forward it really quickly and that's it, you're done. And then they're included from then on.
So if I add, yeah, and exactly the same in Slack. If I add someone to a Slack channel, they will see all the historical information that I want to highlight to them. And what I can even do is go up to the particular message that I'm looking to draw their attention to and @message them on that. So they get a notification, not just for the entire thread, but for the particular piece of information I'm trying to highlight to them.
So you would create a new channel for each topic. That is.
I would have a channel for each open project, and I would have threads for each topic.
Okay, yeah, I don't think it really replaces, it makes sense in my opinion, but sure, I guess that works.
Great, thanks for your question.
Okay, Ciarán, thank you very much for this inspiring talk. I already was a big fan of Slack workflows before, but now I think I'm really at the edge to addiction. Thank you very much. I think we still have time for the questions, if you have the time. And also you are in Slack, so in the Big Tech Day workspace, and maybe you find some time to answer any more questions, if there are any.
Yeah, absolutely. If people want to post questions in the Track 5 channel in the Slack workspace, I'm happy to field any questions there. And maybe I'll throw in, Ben, some information on workflows so that people can get started themselves.
Okay, are there any more questions? Let me just check in Slack. It looks good. I think everybody's not up to speed and happy to use what we learned today in our Slack workspace in the future.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for your time today, and looking forward to the questions and debate within the channel.
Thank you very much, Ciarán.
Thanks a lot, Ciarán. Cheers.